1 from Unit 3 or Chapter 3 in our book. And video 1 is going to be called Adding and Subtracting Rational Numbers. Okay, so we talked about adding and subtracting integers. What we're going to look at now is what happens when we add and subtract rational numbers. So rational numbers there's two different types of rational numbers we're going to look at. Okay, that is decimals and fractions. Okay, those are two types of rational numbers we're going to look at. And each one has a different method that you're going to use when you're adding or subtracting. Okay, now, basically we'll use the same rules that we used from when we talked about adding integers. The idea of if the signs are the same, you add the numbers, take the sign. If the signs are different, you're going to subtract the numbers and take the sign from the bigger number. Okay? So let's look at some examples here. Talking about how we're going to add these. Okay? So first example here is we got negative 4.8 plus a negative 8.7. Okay? Now, when you're adding rational numbers, okay, you can do this without a calculator. We're going to either add or subtract. So we look at the numbers. Are the signs the same or are the signs different? Okay, in this case, the signs are the same. That means we're going to add these two numbers together. So we just write down 4.8. Just make sure that you line up the decimal points. Okay, line up your decimal points when you're adding. We'll just do like a regular addition problem just like you did in elementary school. Okay, 8 and 7 is 15. Carry the 1. 4 and 8 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Okay, then the decimal point goes straight down. So this would be 13.5. Okay, now they're both negative, so we make sure we take the sign with us. So this would be a negative 13.5. Okay, so that's how we add decimals. Let's look at another one. What if I had negative 0.76 plus a negative 1.34. Okay. Again, look at the signs. Signs are the same. That means we're going to add these. 1.34, 0.76. Add them together. That's a 10. Carry the 1. 3 and 7 is 10. Plus 1 is 11. Carry the 1. 1 and 2. Drop the decimal point, comes straight down. So 2.10. Those are both negative. We take the sign. That's going to be a negative 2.10. Okay? Now, what if the signs are different? So let's look at another example here. What if I have 14.8 plus negative 7.2 plus 30.7. Okay, so this has got three numbers in it. Process is still the same. We'll start out by adding the first two, right? We'll work left to right because they're all pluses in there. We'll look left to right. If I combine those two together, these have different signs. Different signs, that means we're going to subtract. When you subtract these numbers, you make sure they put the biggest one on top. So 14.8 is bigger than 7.2, so I put that one on top. I subtract. Okay? 8 minus 2 is 6. 4 minus 7, can't do that. We've got to borrow. That'd be a 13. That's 6. So 6.6. The sign comes to the bigger number. 14 is bigger, so it's a positive 6.6. Okay? Plus the 30.7. Okay? We want to combine those two together. Line them up. 30.7, 6.6. Line up your decimal points again. 7 and 6 is 13. 6 and 1 is 7. That'd be 37.3. Positive since both are positive. Okay? All right. Last one here for these. Look at D. Okay? got minus negative 6.8. Okay, so this is a subtraction problem. Remember, just like when we talked about subtracting with integers, if I have subtraction, the first thing I do is change my signs. Change, 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 change. Okay, change, change, change both of them. This is a minus, change both. Minus, minus becomes plus, plus. Okay, now look at the signs. We have a minus and a plus. It means they're different. It means you're going to subtract. Bigger number goes on top. Which number is bigger? Okay, 6.8 is bigger than 4.5. Down top, we subtract. 8 and 5 is 3. 6 minus 4 is 2. Okay, which number is bigger? 6.8 is bigger. 6.8 is positive. That means my 2.3 is positive. Okay, so that's the thought process we go through when we're adding or subtracting. Okay? All right, next then, we need to look at fractions. So that was rational numbers. Now we'll look at fractions. Now, the key with adding and subtracting fractions is being able to find a common denominator. You always have to have a common denominator. Okay? The denominator is the number on the bottom of the fraction. So, for example, if I had, say I had 3 2/3 plus a negative 4 1/6. Okay? So, start the process just like we did with all the other numbers. We look at the signs. Signs are different. That means we're going to subtract these two numbers. Bigger number goes on top. 4 1/6 is bigger than 3 2/3, obviously. Okay, we're going to subtract them. Now, the problem is our denominators are not the same. Okay? Look at your denominators. They're not the same. Okay, so the first thing we got to do is we got to make them the same. So 6 and 3, what's the first number they have in common? 6. Okay, so we can make a 3 into a 6. So we're going to not change the first one, but I'm going to have to change the second one into 3. And basically what I'm going to do, if I change that 3 to a 6, what'd you do? You multiply 3 times 2 to get 6. I got to do the same thing on the top. So 2/3 become 4/6. Then I want to subtract. Okay, if I subtract these two, okay, this fraction on top is smaller than this fraction, so I'm going to have to borrow. I'm going to have to borrow here and make this a 3. What that does, that means I'm going to add 6 to this 1, so this 1's going to become a 7. Okay, because this is 6. If I borrow 1, I'm adding a 6 to the top number, whatever it is. Okay, I'm going to add whatever the denominator is, that's what I'm going to add to the top when I borrow a fraction. Okay? So now I subtract. 7 minus 4 is 3, so we get 3/6. 3 minus 3 is 0, so I don't put any big number in front. 3/6 can be reduced to 1/2. So my answer is 1/2. Which number is bigger? The negative 4/6 is bigger, so that means this is going to be equal to negative 1/2. That'd be my final answer. Okay? Let's look at another one here. If I had negative 1 3/4 plus a negative 4 1/8. Okay, look at the signs. Signs are the same. That means we're going to add them. Doesn't matter which one goes on top if you're adding. Okay. Again, look at your denominators, not the same. So we're going to have to change them. Okay. What do I want to change it to? Well, 4 goes into 8, so I can make those both 8s. So this one won't change. So what do I do to make the 4 into an 8? I multiply times 2. That means I'm going to do the same thing on the top. That's going to become a 6. Then we add. Okay, 6 and 1 is 7. That's 7/8. 1 and 4 is 5. Okay. Now, so 5 and 7/8 is my answer. Well, both my numbers were negative. That means it's going to be a negative 5 and 7/8. Okay. All right, let's look at one more here. What if I have 7 3/8 minus negative 4 1/3? Okay, so we got a minus sign here, so we got to change our signs. So change, make those both pluses. Look at the signs. Both these numbers are positive. That means we're going to just straight add them. Okay? Again, look at the denominators. They're not the same. That means we need to change those fractions before we can add. 8 and 3. The easiest way to find a common denominator is just multiply the two numbers together. So 8 times 3 is 24. So we'll just make 24 be our common denominator. Okay? So, what times 8 makes 24? It's 3. So that means this top number is going to be 9 because I'm going to take 3 times 3, and that's 9. Same to the bottom. We got 24 down here. I'm taking 3 times 8 to get 24, so 1 times 8 would be 8. Add together. 9 and 8 is 17. That's going to be 17 over 24. 4 and 7 is 11. 11 and 17, 24. So my answer, both numbers are positive. So 11 and 17, 24 is going to be my answer. Okay? Fractions. Make sure it's all about common denominators. The easiest way to find them, if you're not sure what it is, you can always just multiply the two numbers together on the bottom, and that'll always make you a common denominator, just like we did with the last one. So if you're not sure, like on these earlier ones, if you didn't know that 8 and 4 are common factors, or you didn't know 3 and 6 are common factors, you can always multiply those two numbers together. Like I could have used 18 on this one, on the first one. I could have used 32 as my denominator on the second one just by multiplying those together. Okay? When in doubt, just multiply them together. All right, make sure you get your homework done. Make sure you get your terms done. Good luck.